So, characters. We've got Barry, a Jewish bee with serious mental health problems, Andy, Ferris Bueller cosplaying as Cameron for a day, Vanessa, a Judeo-Christian human with serious mental health problems, Patrick Warburton, a cartoon Patrick Warburton, and this is what literally happened in the Bee Movie. Barry lives on Bee Movie Street in a communist society bordering on a brainwashed religious commune with hints of incestuous relationships.
That girl was hot.
She's my cousin.
She is?
Yes, we're all cousins.
It's time for him to choose a career, but instead, the inbred bee has a panic attack on Willy Wonka's claustrophobic ferry boat and ditches his best friend, family, and attractive cousins.
Aren't they our cousins too?
Distant.
For a chance to be a bee outside. Barry joins up with the jocks, who rather ironically can't identify a tennis ball, only to be left behind for dead when the match goes horribly wrong. Everyone knows jocks can't handle losing a game. Now free to explore, Barry hitches a ride on a tennis ball and sets off to see the city. Barry, who's always been interested in mechanics, takes a tour of a car engine turned death trap before he holds a family of 5 hostage and nearly kills a biker. After this Rumspringa, Barry realizes,
I gotta get home,
and tries to head back there, but before he can, he's attacked by dihydrogen monoxide bombs. The bombs force Barry to take shelter wherever he can find, so he makes a beeline for a nearby flower bed. Having been severely affected by the warfare he just experienced, Barry starts to self-harm, but calms down once he smells guacamole in the distance. Before he can get to the guac, however, his head bashing gets the better of him. Through an extremely flawed chain of logic that includes a light bulb being the sun being the way out of a house, and touching the sun being a good idea, Barry ends up electrocuting himself. But by the grace of the commune god, he ends up falling into the very guacamole that pulled him out of his fugue state only moments before. Noting the extremely anal placement of chips on a nearby plate, Barry knows he's in for some physical manifestation of inner inadequacy. Without going into detail on the peculiarity of having winter boots next to his chair in the middle of summer, Patrick Warburton threatens to kill Barry. It's quickly revealed that Vanessa either A, thinks very highly of insects, or B, thinks very lowly of her boyfriend. So she sets Barry free by placing him in the flower bed outside her window, but not before she traps him under a cup, threatening suffocation. Barry develops a strange case of what can only be described as a mix of inbreeding, years of self-harm, and Stockholm Syndrome. Instead of going back to the commune and beginning his adult bee life, he decides to break the biggest bee rule there is.
You're not supposed to talk to a human?
Because Vanessa saved him from Patrick Warburton. See, this is a universe in which no one has ever peacefully returned a bee to nature, and Barry's situation is anomalous. Not only does Vanessa immediately hear Barry say hi, but she is terrified and looks directly at him without any sort of double take or searching, and immediately assumes it was indeed a bee speaking to her. Upon seeing Vanessa perform an act of self-harm, Barry can't help but feel a strange attraction growing inside of him. The two go on a date of sorts, speaking about their mutual love of flowers, while Barry demonstrates an impractically specific knowledge of the city's layout for a truancy case bee who's never left the hive before. Upon returning to the commune, Barry is confronted by Andy. Luckily, Andy is easily swayed by food, as most of us are, and allows Barry to continue living in his delusion.
This is over!
Eat this.
This is not over!
Dreaming of his woman, Barry witnesses Vanessa commit a violent murder against a dragonfly, completely contradicting her original statement.
I'm just saying all life has value.
But the two commence with a riotous chuckle, discarding the corpse and continuing on with their days, which include Vanessa dying a horribly painful and explosive death. On their next real outing, Barry discovers that humans consume honey without any sort of bee compensation.
Bees don't know about this. This is stealing.
Curious, he follows a delivery truck back to the farm where the honey is sourced. You know, where delivery trucks report to. Not some sort of distribution center or manufacturing plant or anything. It's here that he discovers bee sweatshops, where bees are subdued with carcinogenic smoke and kept captive by the keepers. Enraged, Barry does the most rational thing he can think of in his aforementioned addled mind, sues the human race. With Vanessa's help, of course.
Bees have good qualities.
The case goes to court almost immediately, and the bee community shows up in droves to demonstrate their support and mutual outrage. The big honey companies hire a lawyer to defend against the bee suit, while Barry represents the bees.
All bees of the world?
After several death threats,
Why doesn't someone just step on this little creep?
and Goodfellas references,
This is a bad fella.
the court takes a much-needed respite. Patrick Warburton takes advantage of this break in press coverage to tell Barry,
I've just about had it.
despite the fact that Pat uses the lethal setting on the shower head, which we aren't going to get into, his attack does not in fact prove to be lethal, but it does cause Vanessa to break up with him. When court reconvenes, Lawyer Man puts Barry on the stand, calling him a blood traitor, liar, and a bad bee. This for some reason causes Andy to get real thorny and sting Lawyer Man in the bum, putting Andy in the human hospital and reminding people everywhere that bees sting.
Stinging's the only thing they know.
Which apparently they forgot about over the last few court days. While visiting his ailing friend, Barry has a revelation he believes can turn the case around. A smoking gun. Literally.
Here is your smoking gun.
Arguing that the practice of drugging bees is wrong, the bees win the case, rather unofficially, with very little due process and a lack of juror voting, but hey, it's a win. With that, Barry shoots Winnie the Pooh, destroys Ray Liotta's already precarious reputation, puts elderly women in jail, calls for a recall and return of all irresponsibly sourced honey, and causes the bankruptcy of several large national employers. With the influx of honey, the bees find themselves out of work, and the flowers find themselves out of pollen. Vanessa turns salty and blames the potential mass extinction on Barry, even though she's the one who made it possible for him to win the case, or even make the case, and she helped craft the legal defense and brought in the smoking gun. But anyway, yeah, it's all Barry's fault. So he offers to kill himself.
How about a suicide pact?
But that's really not enough for Vanessa, so instead he offers to fix the flower genocide. They commit Grand Theft Auto, put a princess in the hospital, hijack a jumbo jet, and create the world's most inefficient flying machine. But eventually they do make it back to the park with just enough pollen to save the whole world.
We have just enough pollen to do the job.
Barry becomes an attorney, Vanessa goes into business with him, Patrick Warburton is very gay, and it turns out that all animals can speak, which really calls into question the whole meat-eating thing. And that is what literally happened in the Bee Movie.